They moved as one. In front was their leader, sniffing the air, the ground, and the trees around them. They moved fast, away from the carcasses of the deer that they had eaten. All around them, the trees and the flora and fauna seemed alive and reaching for them. They felt weird, to say the least, the drugs inside the deer carcass working their way through their bodies, affecting their brains. They did not know this, of course. They just knew that they had eaten. Their bodies were full of meat, and the smell of blood filled their nose. Something was driving them on. They felt it. They felt it as one. In fact, they felt a lot of things as one. The deer. It was all about the deer. They had been finding the carcasses as of late, left behind, discarded. Humans had a tendency to do such strange things. The bodies were thrown so deep into the forests, it was strange. They had been devouring the bodies of the deer for days, and, slowly, the genetic material inside the deer meat had been working on them, working into their brains. They were growing smarter. Again, this was not something that the pack knew. They were coyotes. They were not scientific geniuses. They understood things now. They knew, for example, that there were more humans not far away. They had reached the decision to head that way on their own. They worked together, commands given subtly or mentally. And that was the other thing. They could hear each other's thoughts. Again, what it meant, they did not know. As animals, they did not spend time worrying about why things were. They accepted that it was how things were, and they moved on. They needed food. They needed lots of food. The chemicals in their bodies and brains were making them hungrier. The deeper the hunger got, the more aggressive they got. There had already been a few who had turned on each other. Their stomachs drove them forward. They did not know that the deer had been genetically altered. They did not know that experiments on deer population control had been done in a laboratory somewhere. The carcasses were supposed to be taken to an incinerator and destroyed. Instead, a trucking company, looking to cut corners, had begun dumping them into the forest preserves around the city. The coyotes, however, had already moved closer toward the humans, as the humans had expanded further into their territory. Already, there had been stories of coyotes attacking small pets and animals and posing threats against small children. There had even been stories about coyotes living in downtown Chicago, running down the busy avenues and streets late at night. None, however, had been anything like this pack. Ahead of them was a subdivision, a collection of townhomes with one road in and out and connected to the rest of the world by a main busy road. Surrounding that subdivision was nothing but forest. They could smell the humans. Huge. They were big, filled with meat and blood. Normally, they shied away from the humans. The humans feared them and hated them and shot at them and tried to poison them, but this pack no longer cared about this kind of thing. Their brains, their thoughts, their desires and needs worked as one. They hungered. They were angry. The chemicals coursed through their bodies. They worked as one entity and one unit. They bore down on the homes. The cold air rippled through their fur, carrying scents on the wind. They hungered. Thanks for listening to When the Night Comes Out Jump Scares. Be sure to like, share, and review. You can binge our first 2 seasons of full-length stories now. Until next time, try to stay safe when the night comes out. Hey guys, we appreciate your continued support, but we also would like to create a community around When the Night Comes Out. A community of horror fiction fans who support us so we can bring you even more stories, more scares, expand what we offer, and maybe even podcast merch. So be sure to visit patreon.com/whenthenight-comes-out and become a supporter. Every amount helps. We'll see you next time when the night comes out.